the Function with Purpose podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Welcome to Season 10, Episode 6 of the Function with Purpose podcast. Thanks for joining in. This is Dr. Amy with you today on this lovely day, maybe in the morning, afternoon, or evening, or late evening, early morning. I don't know, whatever that happens between midnight and like 6 a.m., early morning. Okay, we're going to get right into today's topic. In fact, I'm either going to, there's probably already a FPT coffee talk on this, but I kind of just want to blend a story on top of this and how much incorporation of just one thing can change your complete healthy timeline or wellness timeline or your health metrics. So today's title, Recovery Can Change Everything. Recovery processes can change everything. So, hopefully, for those who are listening, you are an individual who likes to exercise, likes to train. You're pretty active. Maybe you enter weekend competitions, or maybe it's training for a half marathon or a full marathon, or maybe you're going to some CrossFit local events, competitions, or, maybe you're just playing intramurals on weekends in an adult league. I don't know. So you're pretty active. You exercise every day of the week. Maybe your intensity and such changes, but you don't really, or you're at loss, or you're unaware that you don't have recovery practices in place. So what is recovery? What does recovery do for the body? So there's kind of two things that I think of with recovery that can help. But recovery in general, aka rest days or active recovery days or passive recovery days, are in place so that we can provide our body a more optimal or suboptimal environment to recover from intentional overload from our exercise or training routine, right? Our body needs that in order to recover better from the stimulus or the stimuli that we place on our body. So recovery days, aka rest days, aka active rest days or passive rest days, recovery can totally change everything. Even when you're not experiencing perhaps an injury, or maybe you're recovering from a surgery, or maybe you had a little shoulder flare up. Recovery needs to be a little bit more towards the forefront than anything. But if you're on the flip side, you're feeling pretty good, you exercise and you move and you train every day, you are purposely providing an intentional overload or stimulus to your body. So muscles, tendons, ligaments, nerves, nervous system, right? Our brain. So recovery needs to be instilled into your routine. So how, have you even thought of this? Are you a person who actually instills recovery practices through their daily or weekly routine? Because think about this. You think of the elite athletes that we watch on television, right? Professional athletes. LeBron James. I grew up watching Michael Jordan, right? Tiger Woods, whoever else is well known in the professional scheme. I don't really watch a lot of professional sports anymore because, side note, they get paid too much, and I'm biased by that, and I think it's a little ridiculous. Anywho, there's my 2 cents. But you think of these elite athletes, these well-known professional athletes. We'll use LeBron James as an example, and you bet your ass that he has recovery protocols put in place ever since day one entering, especially into the NBA. He has a team of healthcare people. He has a team of physical therapists. He has an athletic trainer. He probably has a chiropractor. He most likely has a personal trainer, especially in the off season. Obviously, he probably has his own primary care physician that does house calls, right? Exercise physiologist, nutritionist, nutrition coach, registered dietitian. He has all of this medical personnel to help keep him balanced, because what does he do as a professional? He puts his body through the grinder, which means he provides or promotes intentional overload to his entire body, musculoskeletal system as well as the nervous system. So he has to have this healthcare team around him in order to recover better and come back even more better, more strong, more robust, more quick, fast, coordination, more flexible, more strong, right? Who says that us, the general public who aren't professional athletes, can have that same peace of mind? Why not? Why not? So this is going to lead into a story of mine, which might be the majority of the podcast. So sorry if I put you to sleep, but thanks for hanging in there and wanting to hang in there. Recovery can change everything that you do, all the way down to our basic health metrics. And when I think of basic health metrics, I think of maybe our fasted glucose levels, our blood pressure, resting heart rate, our ability to perform movement patterns or get our body into what I call movement shapes, squatting position, fetal position, single leg, push-up, pull-up, basic human movement, kneeling, stooping, up and down the stairs, squat on one leg to pick something up, or look underneath the couch, get on our hands and knees and get that little piece of crumb that fell underneath the couch, right? And then all the way to sleep and stress management as well. And then that leads into nutrition, right? So recovery practices can help build a better baseline, to enhance that baseline to make you feel better, right? So I've been working with this patient for about two years now, maybe, I think. And about 7 years ago, she underwent a back surgery in which they took a piece of her vertebrae of her lower back. They took it out, they removed it, i.e., this is called a laminectomy, in order for her nerve that comes out in that area to move around more freely. Because it appeared that if she did not have this surgery, that the nerve that was in that area would probably most likely consistently promote symptoms into her leg, i.e. pain, inability to walk, inability to stoop, inability to sleep, right? It kind of affected these health metrics. So about 7 years ago or so, she underwent this laminectomy into her low back. So taking a piece of bone, the surgeon removed that piece of bone in order to create more room for this nerve to move around and play, right? So that meant it didn't fully take away, it reduced the majority of the symptoms she was experiencing. So it helped, not fully, helped her sleep a little better, helped her move, helped her get back into CrossFit. All that fun stuff, right? Helped her perform her job duties, helped her be able to stoop. But when I first started working with her about 2 or so years ago, she told me her story, and I'm like, man, something is missing. Like, what is missing? What's missing here? So we talked a lot, and I said, I challenge you, when you get here for CrossFit class, instead of kind of doing your bandage stretches in the corner and just kind of talking and interacting, you can still talk and interact with some of the athletes that show up for class at 5 o'clock, but you get here like an hour before class, instead of just sitting and stretching and static stretching, I challenge you. How about you start walking? I never really thought about that. Okay. All right. I'm going to do 30 minutes of walking when I get here. Cool. Well, I'm going to fast forward through all this stuff. So this particular patient, not only was she recovering from this surgery that happened 7 years ago, but she's also been on this long-standing history of weight loss. And she's killing it. She's doing so good. And by incorporating walking 30 minutes up to an hour now, she has significantly changed her health metrics. Her blood pressure is much lower and more tolerable. She doesn't have to take blood pressure medicine anymore. Her body fat composition is decreasing. Her ability to perform movements in CrossFit class is significantly better. No pain, nothing, none. Her sleep patterns are better. She has a Whoop band. I monitor her. She's waking up in the high yellows in the green kind of protocol that Whoop develops. She's feeling better. She's moving better. She's paying more attention to her nutrition. But guess what she does now? She incorporates more active recovery, even though she still trains every day, but she does her recovery before she actually trains. So she's calming her nervous system, she's calming her muscles, she's calming her tendons, her ligaments, her joints, and then indirectly she is affecting her health metrics, which is fantastic. And if you can affect the health metrics, the resting or the blood glucose levels, our ability for our body to take different shapes, squat, stoop, and then add load onto that, like back squatting, overhead squatting, lunging in your workout classes, and you feel more flawless. She feels better. Well, this leads into something that just happened about a year ago. She came to me one day and was like, man, I can tell my left arm, I have pain. There's weakness there. Something is going on. I'm sleeping like shit. I think it's coming from my neck. I need you to look at it, Dr. Amy. Okay. All right. Come on in tomorrow at 5 p.m. All right, done. Got it. Assessed her. I think she's right. She was totally right. It's coming from her neck. She was getting symptoms into her hand. That tells me it's coming from the lower neck. Kind of that little hump that you feel in the back of your neck. We call that the C7 hump. So somewhere in that area was aggravated and it was producing symptoms into her fingers, which then, after assessment, found out she has some tricep weakness, the ability to push the hand away from the body or straighten the elbow. Did some physical therapy, manual techniques, and then talked to her again. And I said, hey, listen, you're still doing your walking, right? Actually, I kind of got away from that a little bit. I haven't been super consistent. All right, we need to bump that up, because when you're not here in physiotherapy or class, this recovery by simply just walking and giving you a specific neck exercise, I think will help mitigate these symptoms and centralize these symptoms and push it back to where the origin is happening. I think you need to get your walking back up again. Instead of doing 2 miles, let's just stick to 2 miles. But maybe if you have a little bit more time, let's add another half mile. Okay, cool. Done. Got it, Amy. All right, well, I still show up like an hour before class. I can do that. I can manage that. Okay, great. Awesome. So she got back to her pattern of a more active recovery. And she continued. And then seeing me a little bit more frequent for physio, like an actual skilled session where we have to do some manual therapy technique, a little bit of dry needling to help calm the symptoms. I'm like, okay, listen, you have to do these 2 specific movements a little more frequent as well. So when you come in for your walk, after you finish your walk, that's when you do your exercise, your physiotherapy, therapeutic exercise that we found out works best for you. And then after you finish your CrossFit class, you have to do non-negotiable that exercise we learned in your PT session. Okay, cool, done. Consistent. Dose it. Dose it frequently, every day, every day, every day. Well, guess what happened? The more that she stuck to it, the more consistent pattern she developed. Her symptoms, she became symptom-free within 4 to 6 months. Now, she had to put in some work, but she knew that she had to increase her recovery practices or protocol in order to change her baseline, which we knew her baseline was pain-free, right? And to be able to do the movements that were incorporated in CrossFit and then her daily routines at home. But she's able to move that baseline from maybe, I guess I'll just use feet. Maybe she had a baseline feet at 10 feet. She was able to move that baseline, that 10-foot baseline from 10 feet to 20 feet. So she doubled it, right? So the more that she can get away from baseline and create a newer baseline, guess what? Things are feeling better. She has a less rebound effect if something happens in the future, right? Well, guess she knows what to do, right? She needs to increase more recovery practices. So it is just wild to me, even though I work with individuals who are like myself, that, we go to the gym, we work out for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half if we have it. And we literally kind of beat our bodies up. And then what typically happens after that? We get in our car, sit in our car, we drive home, and then it might be dinner time by the time I drive home. And guess what happens? You sit again at the dinner table, and then maybe you have to go put the kids to bed, and then what happens? Man, it's been a rough day. I'm going to go sit on the couch and relax and just chill, right? I think the more that I'm practicing these recovery days and protocols on myself, walking a little more, being more active and promoting more stretching or mobility routines daily, developing my consistency that, especially on my Thursdays and Sundays, that I do some aerobic more training, like just a long run or a ruck walk, that my recovery feels good, and my recovery promotes a better baseline for myself and gives my muscles, tendons, ligaments, and especially nervous system a break from overload. Because that's what happens. What happens when we exercise? We are breaking down our body's tissue in order to rebuild more. So how do we continue that rebuilding process after we intentionally lift heavy stuff and put it down? Like, we break down the muscle tissue, which is a good thing. But how do we recover from that? We don't just sit on the couch and just, the 1 hour of my day, and then just resting entirely the remainder 23 hours of the day, that I'm going to miraculously get these changes that I want. No. Recovery. Being more intentional with recovery protocols. So, Dr. Amy, you keep talking about recovery. I have no idea what recovery should look like. Like, do I lessen my intensity when I exercise? Do I go to the physiotherapist and have them stretch me? Get some manual therapy perhaps done, or dry needling? Do I learn a new movement pattern? Or do I just sleep it off after I feel kind of sore, after lifting some heavy deadlifts and then doing some lunges and then running? What do you mean? I think it's a little bit of everything what you said. I think it's having a healthcare team of people to get different eyes on you and help you solidify a better schedule and pattern of recovery practices. So that patient I talked about a little bit earlier, right? That little story. She has a team of people. I'm lucky to be on her team. I'm her, quote unquote, as she says, her homie, her PT homie. So there's me, and then she has her other homie, her massage therapist, and then her other homie, her chiropractor, and then her primary care physician that she does still have to periodically get blood work because she has to monitor her hormone levels. But basically, just having those 3 to 4 people are her quote-unquote homies, right? Who says you can't have the same? I think it's important. I have my homies. I have my bodywork massage therapist. I have a chiropractor that I go see. I have my fellow physio colleague that I go see. I have a nutrition coach that I'll check in periodically just for some tips. I also have other CrossFit coaches that I'll ask some things about different movements or a different approach to a movement. Recovery matters, and how you do it and how you instill it is obviously tailored to you. So recovery days should, in my eyes, should be instilled where your nervous system and your brain doesn't really have to think as much. I think recovery days should be a nice blend of active and passive things. So what do I mean by active and passive? I think the number one overlooked thing now is for active recovery is walking. Getting outside and frickin' walking. Well, it's been about a year since I've been walking, especially on active recovery days, but then I've been doing more rucking, so I'll put my 14-pound vest on and just walk for like an hour. At this moment in time, I'm up to 4 miles, so that's about an hour and 15 minutes of walking outside. That's doable. I can do that. And then getting more into some like passive stretching, holding long positions for like 2 minutes or longer. You know, it might target the hamstrings, it might target my triceps, it might target my mid-back. As well as blending in some more passive approaches. So on my recovery days, which are typically Thursday, I'll go see my physiotherapist colleague, and you know, she or he may do some dry needling on my backside because I can't do it myself. Probably joint specific stretching or mobility or mobilization is what we call that in the PT lingo world. Some body tempering, so more of a passive approach as well. And some good old recovery, passive recovery too, if my body craves it. Maybe a day or two out of the week, naps. It's okay for your body to want and crave a nap. Maybe a midday nap. Because overall, what does sleep do? When we intentionally overload, think when you have a CrossFit competition on a weekend. It's here locally in Charlotte. You get pretty beat up because you do about 4 workouts, maybe 5, I don't know, depending what competition you enter, in one day. That is a lot of intentional or a little bit of unintentional body overload, tissue overload, nervous system overload. So one of the best passive recovery protocols for that is sleep, because what happens during sleep or nap time? Your body and nervous system relax. Your body and brain are shooting out these chemical mediators to help clean up the junk and build tissue as best as possible. Sleep is super important, especially on competition weekends. If you ever watch those videos on YouTube, it might be a CrossFitter who, you know, went to the CrossFit Games and they're like, yeah, after my first workout, I went back, fueled up, ate some food, got a shower, took a nap, took an hour nap for my body to recover, and then I'm ready for the second workout of the day. Yeah, totally a thing, because sleep helps us promote a better environment for our tissues, joints, ligaments, nervous system to recover. Who would have thunk? Oh my gosh. So as far as recovery, what is it, Amy? I think it's, in my personal opinion, a nice blend of active and passive recovery pathways or protocols. I think one of the biggest things that one can do is walk. Start walking. Maybe it's like 10 minutes after you eat your meals, or frequent bouts throughout the day, like every 30 minutes, get up and do like a lap up and down your stairs or something that can last for like a minute or 2 or up to 3 minutes, where you're like a consistent moving pace. And then, you know, you might incorporate some stretching, a movement routine, or that's where you go out and seek your healthcare team of people and get some body work done, flush out the tissue. Of course, you're rehydrating yourself. You might take a nap, right? More of that passive recovery. Maybe you're getting specific stretching done or joint mobilization done. Maybe, you know, you're going to the chiropractor and they're helping you figure out some areas of the spine that need a little bit more attention. Maybe you're seeking out physio and, you know, they're helping you get into a deeper hip specific movement that can help target the tendons of the rotator cuff of the hip or something. So, you know, you kind of develop this schedule, maybe, you know, whatever your active recovery day is. Like mine's Thursday, so like usually every Thursday I have something scheduled with my healthcare team of people. And on top of that, I'm being more active. And if I need to take a nap, I will. Throughout the week, if I take it, I'm fine with that. I feel good, right? My body needs it. It craves it. So yeah, recovery can totally change everything. If you're not an individual who has recovery protocols in place, honestly, I really suggest you start thinking about that. Right? Our bodies are amazing machines, and if you're a pretty avid athlete or an avid exerciser or competitor, it's super important to have that. And we can indirectly change our health metrics by incorporating more recovery type days. So yeah, maybe if there's a recovery aspect that you do, drop it in the comments. I want to hear about it. It might be cold plunge or sauna, which I'll do periodically, but not consistently. But yeah, if there's something else that I would highly be interested upon. But yeah, recovery can change everything if you want it to be and are aware that you need it to be. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.